Hello, good morning, Internet, and welcome back to the reading of the Master List of Logical Fallacies. I don't even have it pulled up right now, which is how we're doing today. Logical. There we go. So which one did we leave off on? I think it was calling cards.
I think so.
Let's
Yes.
see. Yes. All right. So today we are doing number 32, circular reasoning. And before we dive in, uh, Al and I had a conversation previous to this, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but I want to make sure that this is uh, authentically coming across to the audience. We want to make sure that this program is not going to be polarizing in any way. So our goal is to uh, try to take out any uh, side of talking about politics, like I was before, at least.
We
And
both we both we both got in the hole. It's all good.
yeah. So, and we want to make sure that any personal stories are protecting ourselves and also our loved ones. And so, with that being in mind, we're still going to achieve being as authentic as humanly possible with those in mind. But also, trying to buy time while Alan is eating his wonderful bag of nuts. Um, he ate the bag and the nuts, but forgot the bag. Um, so what was I saying? Oh yeah. I wanted to make sure that we have this on the recording. Alan has I believe he calls it a mission statement, and I want to make sure that I'm in congruent with the mission statement. So, Alan, do you mind sharing what that is?
Yeah. In general, for me, the perspective that I come from, and I do want to be clear in our discussion where we talked about essentially me and Bryce, well, I was evaluating our past episodes and I was noticing that we were creating a lot of political commentary and also just like a lot of political commentary and some stuff, sharing some things that for me I felt like wasn't productive for the space. And for me, I want to acknowledge that there's a certain level of privilege that I get to enjoy being a white cis male, and so there's obviously that piece to it. However, having had multiple conversations with people who are directly impacted by a lot of the things that are happening in the world right now, and also are doing their absolute best to impact as much as they can. The sense that I have, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what's happening, no matter who's in charge, no matter what policies are in place, is to bring it back to how can I, and I being anyone, an individual, someone listening to this, how can I make a difference the most effective way that I'm capable of? And throughout all of our lives, we're all given a series of experiences, or we have a series of things we learn from skills that we've built, gifts that we've been given. And in that process, each of us is through the process of life, we're each uniquely gifted to, or rather, I'll say uniquely enabled to make a difference in a particular way. And to me, it's far more important for me to highlight the things that are going to allow us to make the difference that we're here to make in the world as individuals than it is to complain about what's going on or be frustrated even by it. Because the truth is, I personally, I'm not the president of the United States, or I'm not running for office. I'm not a government official. And so I don't have the power or the ability, and I don't have this huge, massive a number of followings of people who, if I say something, all of a sudden a big wave of humanity moves in a particular direction. And so for me, the having that in mind, it's like, okay, what's the way that I can make the greatest difference, the way that I know how, the way that I'm built, such that a ripple effect can be made, that the same kind of impact that I would wish I could have, which is, people be impacted instantly by the words that I say. How can I do that the way that I'm built with the resources that I have, rather than be upset with how things are and then just sit there with my arms crossed? So to me, it's always about creating empowerment for ourselves to create the ability to take action for ourselves and with ourselves and for others. And I don't think it's particularly productive to, I think it's important to discuss what's going on in the world. I don't think it's productive to argue about it and get all into a space about it. Because at the end of the day, it's not our words that make a difference, it's our actions. From my perspective of things, I've never seen a number of posts or on social media or otherwise change public policy, but I have seen people who have decided to vote or decided to go in the streets and protest. I have seen that make change. So to me, it's all about how can I create action and how can I create focus on what I'm here to do in the world and how can I do that as effectively as I personally can in my own way. So that's the focus I wanted to create with this. And I want to be clear, my intention is still to be very authentic and to read these things and be real. But I'm wanting to make sure that I'm doing my diligence in this conversation to empower people to take action the way that they can in this moment, rather than just continue to create more discord, which the world has plenty of right now.
Very well. And you think that these fallacies are helping that?
I do because the fallacies, as we've been going through them, they brought up so much stuff for me. They brought up so many realizations of where I've used these. Like example, like I've been reflecting on my own behavior in the past, and I'm not a saint. I'm not someone who has never made a single mistake. I've made many mistakes in my life. I've told many lies. I've said many hurtful things, and I've looked back and gone, man, the reason, or rather, I'll read one of these fallacies and I'll go, wow, I remember the reason why I did that. I was afraid of looking bad, or I wanted people to listen to me, or I wanted to not lose this resource or that amount of time or that friendship. And so I made this sound like this. And oh my gosh, I didn't. So it's like there's so much utility in this. And I think that the value that is had from a personal level is insane because it helps me to understand more of my own behavior. But I think in terms of a worldview and how to navigate the times that we're in right now, I think that when someone knows these fallacies and they understand them and they can spot them, I think one, it arms them with the ability to protect themselves from being harmed. So there have been plenty of times in my past where I've had some of these used against me, and because not knowing that they were fallacious, but instead looking at them as though they were accurate and true because I had no idea otherwise, right? It's like as an example,
That's the problem with fallacies is that
right?
they take so much language to
Yeah.
dismantle that
Yes.
it's like, man, it must be true. And it's
Yeah, like or like just like the thing we just talked about last time, right? Like calling cards. Like I'm gonna play the race card, or I'm gonna play this card, or don't play that card, right? It's like in the past I would have looked at that and I probably would have validated that on some at least unconscious level. Oh, that's right, I don't want to play that card because this person's convinced that playing cards or not playing cards is an appropriate way to have a conversation. But now reading this, it's like if someone says that to me, what I can do is go, oh, that's a fallacy. Interesting. Okay. Well, let me ask more questions. Let me get more curious and not take what they're saying personal right now because they're choosing to use fallacious language for some reason or other. They're trying to avoid something or they're trying to get a certain point across.
well, if I may, I think when most people commit fallacies, that they're not doing it with malice. I think it's accidental.
I would agree. But even if they're using it accidentally, operating from a fallacious place creates a shaky foundation. And in my experience of having some of these used against me, the impact in a lot of cases has been a lot of pain for the person on the receiving end. So I see a huge amount of value in empowering individuals by going through this because it lets you spot where fallacies are occurring, not take them so personal, but most importantly, it allows you to be able to be more in discussion and communication with each other to find a resolution. So I'll give one example, then we'll hop into the next one here, unless there's anything that you want to share.
No, you're all good. I mean, this is part of the circular reasoning episode. So
Nice.
just dive into that when you're ready after what you're going to say.
Sure. I had a conversation, or I saw a post online of someone who I deeply respect, who was actually a past client of mine, and something they posted on social media. They said, "Does anybody else get really upset and frustrated when the coaches that you follow are just not talking about the political issues right now?" And I was like, that might be at me, that might not be at me, I'm not sure. And then later on in the comment section, someone had responded and presented an argument. The person who posted made a second comment and it said, no, it's specifically the cis white males. And I was like, I think this has absolutely something to do with me. And so I reached out to this individual and I said, hey, I'm not sure if this was about me or not. I suspect it may. I'm not perfect. I don't have everything figured out. I'm a human being just like you, trying to figure out how to respond to the crazy times that we're in. Was this directed at me? And they said, yep, you're one of the people I was referring to. And I was like, okay. I said, well, would you be open to a conversation? And um, this person said, well, maybe. They said, do you have set questions for me, or do you want me to just share my point of view? I said, here's my intention for this time. I would like to hear your point of view so that I can in real time hear you talk about it, but I can also ask you questions, because if I don't have the space to ask you questions, all I have is the post that you made, and I'm stuck in the process that most people are stuck in, which is just judging you as a human being based off a couple of words you put on a post. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to communicate and ask questions. So I want to understand you more. The second thing I want is I want to be able to share my perspective with you, where you can literally pick mine apart, ask me questions, and tell me all the reasons why I'm wrong. And I said, furthermore, I was like, I don't even need you to come to the conversation being willing to be impacted or influenced or changed by what I'm saying. My intention is to completely hear everything you have to say, to be influenced and to be changed by what you said, regardless if you're willing to be flexible in your position or not. Because ultimately, I want to understand you more, and I do not believe that I'm 100% right with the limited information that I have in my lifetime. Are you open to something like that? They haven't responded back to me yet. But the intention of that whole process is this: because of a lot of the work that we've been doing in going through logical fallacies, there was a lot of fear that I walked around in the world with, because when I had a lot of these used on me and I felt cornered, or I felt stuck, or I felt hazed, or I felt incapable of being able to communicate, it left me believing that the world was a much scarier and inoperable place than it actually is. And what's been changing now is I'm more prone to ask questions. I'm more prone to get in debate. I'm more prone to get in discussion, and I'm less prone to take things personal. And I think that right now, in this time in history in particular, if we had more people who were doing that, I think we would have a much more positive outcome every single day from the things that are going on around us. So
I
that's
agree.
my
That's
that's my take.
the scientific method.
Yes, sir. And we're all about it. So that was the last thing I wanted. Anything you want to share there, or we want to go right into it?
Let's dive in.
Let's dive in. Okay. Number 32. Here we go. Circular reasoning. Also, the vicious circle, catch 22, begging the question, circulus in probando. A fallacy of logos where A is because of B and B is because of A. You can't get a job without experience, and you can't get experience without a job. That's hilarious.
Why is that hilarious?
Because you and I were in a company together where that was, I think, probably one of the primary lines that was said in the interview process. That's amazing. Also refers to falsely arguing that something is true by repeating the same statement in different words. Example: the witchcraft problem is the most urgent spiritual crisis in the world today. Why? Because witches threaten our very eternal salvation. A corrupt argument from Logos. See also the big lie technique. Circular reasoning.
All right, thoughts on this one?
I think I do this one all the time, actually, now that I think about it. Oftentimes what I do when I'm speaking is I'll say something, and if it doesn't feel like it landed the first time, I notice I'll say it again, but in a different way, hoping that it'll land the second time. So to me, it's like I know that's um
Not quite circular reasoning.
not quite, but the part where it said also refers to falsely arguing that something is true by repeating the same statement in different words. I do that all the time.
Well, here, here's where would be circular reasoning. If you said that you need to eat this to be healthy, why? Because when you uh, when you're healthy, you're always eating this. And it's like,
Uh,
but why? It's you know what I mean. So it's just saying the same thing is the reason. Um, one of the biggest ones in religion is your holy book is true because the holy book says it's true, and the holy book is the word of God, and God exists because the holy book said so. And it's like, okay, literally all religions must be true if that's the case, then, which is not possible.
yeah, see that? I got that. Okay. So that was
Um,
reasoning.
yeah, begging the question I thought was actually a different one on this list. You know, maybe they update this over time, because begging the question definitely falls into circular reasoning, but they didn't really provide an example of begging the question. But I'll share begging the question. Essentially, um, let's say you are in a debate, an argument, and you say, I think red marbles are the best because I they're just the best. And then somebody's like, okay, but why are they the best when green is clearly more popular amongst everyone else as far as the marbles go? And then the original person can rebuttal with, that might be true, but have you considered that red is the best marble though? And it's just asserting the the thing that's in question as being true. That's begging the question. It's a form of circular reasoning, but there is a little bit of a distinction, and sometimes people might not pick up on that is circular reasoning, where you're just begging the question, asserting the same thing over and over again.
I feel like this could also apply to tonality. Like
So
if
what?
you, I feel like it also could apply to tonality. If you say the same thing, but you change the tone,
Yeah, that would be begging the question for sure.
you know, that's like, I think fire trucks are the absolute best. And then someone says, I don't think so. No, I think fire trucks are the absolute best. What do you mean? Fire trucks are the absolute best. Like saying the
Yeah,
same thing, but then changing the
it's,
tone.
it's like, but there's other things that are better. That might be true, but have you considered that fire trucks are the best?
That's one of those things I think you and I could get in a loop forever and just like continue to do something ridiculous.
One of my favorite things that we do like that, that's not on this list, is where we will say the same thing, but then just add one more to it.
Yes.
Um, and I think the original was like, maybe it was like donuts or something. Oh yeah, because I think I bought, you told me to get like 6 donuts, and I'm like, well, I think 7 is fine. And you're like, what? I'm like, I think eight donuts is just good enough. And you're like, well, why don't you just get 12 then? I'm like, well, I think 13 might be a little too much. I
No,
just,
no, no. 14 is exactly the right amount.
yeah,
No one could ever need any more than 15 donuts.
I would like to officially invent the Mueller fallacy, and that's the fallacy.
The Mueller fallacy, increasing the number by one every time and pretending it never changed the
Just
first time.
like one or two, yeah, and just never acknowledging.
Never acknowledging it, right? And just talking about it like it's totally normal. Yeah, that 100%. I think that's a good one. I'm happy to put that on the list.